Is it the close thing you're looking for? What? Oh God! It's the. Oh man! You're like a boat anchor.
She's like, look, this is what we do in our kitchen at school. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pots, Pans, and Priscilla. As you can see, I have a famous chef.
Well.
You're famous to me. This is my dad, Chef Ralph. He is a retired actual chef. Like, I'm just a home chef. Just home taught. My dad went to school for this. And he is going to show us how to make a vegetarian spaghetti?
Yes.
Is that what we're calling it?
Super vegetarian spaghetti? I'm pretty sure. Well, you'll see. Some things that'll make it different are we're going to have some beans and some artichoke hearts and Calamata olives. And then we're going to top it off with, I just learned how to say this, Visalia kale. I typically call it Italian kale, and some people call it dinosaur kale.
Oh, it looks like a dinosaur, so that makes sense to me. So it also has some onion, garlic, Parmesan cheese.
And I go with oregano.
Okay.
You know, if you have like an Italian blend, that would work too. It's okay.
We have a visitor today. So Abby will be in and out. If you guys don't know, check out our other channel called Fathering Autism. Our daughter, Abigail, has autism, and so she will be popping in and out today because she's here with us and we're going to do this real life. So, Abby, can you say hi? Can you wave? Not so much. All right, guys, so, well, let's get cooking, Dad. I'm excited. Everybody always asks for vegetarian recipes.
Well,
so.
this is almost as vegetarian as it gets. Just leave the cheese off and it's vegan.
There you go. That's cool. All right, guys, let's get cooking. All right, guys, so my dad is actually going to take the lead on this recipe because I don't cook vegetarian, and I don't know that I've ever used half of these ingredients. So we're going to let him do that. But now you're going to strip the kale. Strip
the kale because you don't, you know, it's got this big stem going down the middle of it. And it would be, so the easiest way to do it is just to hold the big end and just kind of pull it off. It doesn't work every time, and if it doesn't, then you just have to pick it off a little slower by hand. But it should work pretty well. So I'll do the rest of these, and then I'll show you how we're going to do this. Even though it's the last ingredient, we want to go ahead and get it ready so by the time we get everything else done, that this is ready to go. Okay, now I'm going to take all those stripped leaves and then I just kind of roll them so that I can keep control of them. Okay, now we're just going to put these off to the side until everything else, it'll be about 15 minutes into the dish, and then they'll just go for about 5 to 7 minutes at the end. So is it like spinach where it cooks pretty fast and shrinks up? It does not shrink up. Oh, it'll come out looking just like this. Awesome. So is this the kind of kale you make kale chips with? I don't know. Oh, okay. I didn't know. You know, it looks like that. It's the most friendly kale because it's soft. You know, the leaves are softer. They're not that stiff leaf that typically you see used in like a buffet where they stick the kale in to make the buffet green. So now we're just going to do an onion. We'll get the onion going. I tend to use the oil off the artichoke hearts, and then I'll just add the onion and the garlic, and then I'll add the oregano. I like to add it into kind of an empty skillet because it kind of brings it back to life instead of just throwing it in at the end and it just kind of hides. Typically, you think of mincing the garlic, mincing the onion or dicing it up kind of small. I'm going to leave these in little strands so that, you know, you can find it again later. So to do that, I might just cut straight across here, and then, you know, when it comes apart, you know, you're going to wind up with little pieces, but it'll still look like an onion after it cooks down a little bit. Oh, okay, gotcha. And you don't need onion goggles. No, I don't use onion goggles. I probably cut 5,000 pounds of onions.
We call them birth control goggles around here because they're not
Yeah.
cute.
In the Navy, they used to call the glasses birth control glasses. Smoky Mountain pickled garlic.
It's really
pickled
good.
Garlic. So when you cut garlic, if you start and you're...
He's fancy. You're so fast.
Well, the knife, you see, it never really leaves the cutting board. It's always on, so there's none of this kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Although that does have its place sometimes. I think I did it with the kale.
Sure.
If you find your garlic is running all over the place and you can't keep, just take too much salt and put right on top of the garlic and it'll stay right there. We're not going to do that for this dish because I don't need the extra salt. But if you're going to put salt in later anyway, just go ahead and put it right on top of the garlic and everything will stay right there. And then when you go to cut, it won't be running all over the cutting board.
I like that.
We're going to get this started. We're going to start with the onions. I'll follow with the garlic in a little bit, and then we're going to add the oregano. Okay, so we've moved over to the stove, and as we discussed, I'm going to use some of the oil out of the artichoke hearts.
Oh, okay.
And then we're going to move right into the onions.
I think one of my favorite things is smelling onion and garlic together in olive oil. Oh, any dish that starts with that's got to be good.
Trying to break apart the onions. Perhaps I'll go ahead and put the oregano in now. I don't know how much.
See, I get it honestly. You don't measure either,
I
right?
don't.
You just kind of go by the way it looks.
If you're baking, you should measure. If you're cooking on the stove, just do what feels good. This is about how much I'm using. It looks like a big tablespoon.
That's so funny. Like, we've never talked about that before, but that's how I roll too. So when you find like recipes online or something, do you always make them your own?
Sometimes, surprisingly, a lot of times I'm backing off of the spices. Sometimes especially with vegetarian, somebody along the way decided that if it's vegetarian, you've got to jack up the spices and the heat and
They
things.
feel like you're missing out on other things, maybe.
Right.
So.
And still, but I feel like that still disguises the food. Oregano's not one of those spices. So yeah, a lot of times I'll back off on the cayenne pepper. I'll usually cut it at least in half. No cayenne pepper here. We're just talking. So we're going to add the garlic.
That was 4 cloves of garlic that we
4
ended up
cloves
doing.
of garlic. Again, this recipe isn't anywhere. If you find it somewhere, let me know. Because at the school I worked at, one of the moms kind of turned me on to this whole dish, and then I took her ideas and went ahead and made it my own.
There you go.
You know, I don't think she used kale. I don't know, but whatever it is.
So
now
for
it's
my
mine.
non-vegetarian people, you could just add chicken to this, and it would be an awesome dish as well.
Probably do the chicken in some other setting.
Right, like you want to cook the chicken off to the side,
Right.
and then add it to it once you cook it.
And you could either make it fun and add it as a whole piece, or you could,
Yeah.
cut it on an angle and kind of fan it out. That would look pretty good. And then put this over it. So we've got this working.
So what are you looking for this to get to look like?
It's not going to turn brown or anything.
Right.
I'm just looking for the onions to show that translucent color a little bit, lose a little bit of their white. I tend to use the sweet onions all the time. Depends on where you are in the country. I don't even know what they're called here. Perhaps they're called Visalias.
Yeah.
Okay. And, we have Walla Walla sweets in Washington, but you only have those certain times of the year. Otherwise, we're getting some other kind of sweet onion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so things are calming down a little bit. So we might go ahead, the next thing we're going to add is the beans. If they give a reduced sodium option, I tend to pick it all the time.
I don't cook with a lot of salt just because I never have.
Right.
So I do the same thing if I have the reduce option. And you do want to rinse these beans. You don't put the juice in there. You never use the bean goop, as Dad calls it.
That's right, bean goop. So I probably filled it full of water and just strained it through my fingers about 4 or 5 times. Or you could pour it in a colander. You just want the beans. As the beans are getting hot, we're going to think about adding the tomatoes. I went with a petite diced tomato because I've made it before. Okay, I shop a lot at Costco. Costco has just diced tomatoes, and the pieces are kind of big, and there's a lot of juice involved. I've actually tried to drain the tomatoes before, which just seems kind of weird, but otherwise the dish winds up too wet. So we're going to see what this does. So you can see, even with this, there's a little bit of liquid still going on.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Some of it'll cook off. You know, we've still got at least 10 minutes of this dish left. As this is working, I'm gonna look at the artichokes, cut them up, see if they're small enough, and then we'll be adding those. Okay, we're checking our temperature. We're about on medium. Our water's getting hot for the spaghetti because that takes about 10 minutes from start to finish, even if it may not be 10 minutes cooking time. And the kale is about a 7-minute procedure.
Okay.
Actually, the kale's going to go in next, and then the olives will go in on top. After we take the lid, we're going to put a lid on this so that the kale can steam and get soft, and then we'll put the olives on after that. And
you can go ahead and jack up the temperature over there because it's gonna. Yeah.
Okay, jacked up.
Yep.
Okay, I feel like we're at the point where I can go ahead and add the kale and put the lid on it. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to cut the olives in half and kind of wait about 7 minutes. Perhaps I'll start the spaghetti noodles at that point.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit because it's plenty hot. Okay, we're just going to forget about this for a while. We're going to focus on the noodles. We'll come back and get the olives.
Get ready for the comments down below. It's happening.
It's happening.
It doesn't make sense though because you can buy, have you seen the boxes of the 1-pound spaghetti? And it's, so it fits in your pot.
Oh yeah. And it, so, see, this doesn't fit in here. Okay? So I like to break it in half.
That's right.
I'm not Italian. I'm not going to twirl it in a spoon.
That's right. Makes sense. Whatever makes sense.
Okay, while this is all doing what it needs to do, I'm going to come over and do something I need to do, and that's get these olives ready.
What he meant to say was why it's getting happy, because that's where I got
You know,
that.
I've intentionally not said that, okay? Yeah. As a matter of fact, when Isaiah found out we were making vegetarian, he had a impromptu date with anybody, actually, that wasn't vegetarian. Okay, I've got 6.5 minutes left on the spaghetti. I'm going to go ahead and put the olives in there and just kind of take it off the heat with the lid on perhaps and let it coast because everything is cooked through.
Awesome.
I would have to say the olives are like the strongest flavor of the whole dish. If you want to do it without olives, sure, do that.
Yeah.
But you're missing the best part. Not just any olives. I tend to use the Calamata olives. Okay.
So I know not every vegetarian dish is super easy and quick, but this one is a really quick dish. So even if you're not necessarily like vegetarian, you could have one night a week where you do like a vegetarian meal.
Like Meatless Monday?
Right, and that's a thing, and so you could do this meal because it's probably taken like 30 minutes or less.
30 minutes or less?
Yeah. I mean, 30 minutes because we're talking and we're showing you guys, but typically I don't even think it would take Dad 30 minutes to cook this dish. So if you're busy and busy family, there you go. I think this would be an awesome idea for people.
And just the way I did it makes 4 pretty good servings.
Cool.
If you want to adjust it, just cook more noodles.
There you go. All right, guys, we are just waiting for that pasta to finish up. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Dad, thanks for cooking dinner tonight. It's fun.
You know, I've got to hold my own around here, don't I?
So I appreciate it. Show my dad some love. Put hashtag Chef Ralph down in the comments below. If you make this dish, let us know what you think. If you add or take anything away, we'd love to hear from you. So as always, thank you. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we will see you next time. Bye.